You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, not joined by my wife and co-host, unfortunately, today. You've got me solo, and I'm actually podcasting from the cabin of the Celebrity Apex. We are at a sea day on our way back to Florida. We got a couple more days until we're back in Florida, and we're at sea. I looked at my iMaps, and we are north of Puerto Rico, and we've been having a great time. This has been like the most amazing cruise and group of people we've had on any of our other cruises, and oh man, we're just having a great time. And I'm making a YouTube video, and I was going to put up a bunch of YouTube videos, like, every day or two, and I decided I'm just going to do one big one. So the video that I do for the cruise, when it's finished, is going to be probably the longest vlog I've ever made. But I'm going to put it all in there and do a live premiere, but it'll be after I'm back. And man, you're going to be sorry you didn't join us. But I was just meeting with some people from our group. We got together for coffee at the coffee bar, and they said, "Have you been following the news?" And I said, "No, not really. I'm on vacation, and I'm trying to take a break from the news. Believe me, it'll be there when we get back." And when I came back to my cabin, I just started looking at the news, and what's going on is insane. I mean, what's going on in this country with Joe Biden is beyond insane. Any one of these stories that you hear about Biden and Hunter would doom any other president, even another Democrat. But the reason that Biden and Hunter, or this story I'm going to get to, it just blew my mind. But the reason they're getting away with things that anyone else is not just because it's Biden. With Trump and the MAGA movement, the establishment that control our lives, our country, our government, and the world lost control. So they've got this senile old coot who doesn't know what's going on. His son has every vice known to man except gambling. I've not heard anything about him being a gambler. But other than gambling, I don't think there's a vice that Hunter does not have. And they're letting them get away with this because, well, they're reestablishing their control. Yeah, and that's just the way it is. It's really it's a terrible thing when you think about it. And these stories are pretty bad. So listen to this one. This is in the Gateway Pundit, which is, of course, the Gateway Pundit is like what the Drudge Report was in the 90s. I mean, it's great. They've got everything. It's amazing. Listen to this. Hunter Biden is asking the federal government and the Attorney General of Delaware to go after individuals who shared personal information from his laptop. And there's a whole list of people he's going after. He's including Steve Bannon and Mayor Giuliani and some others. Hunter lost custody of his computers after he abandoned them at the computer repair shop, it says here. But anyway, so we used to hear about this with Nixon, right? They were talking about he had an enemies list. And boom, they you would hear about this. They got rid of him. They made him resign from office. When Hunter took those laptops there, it's a bit of a debate. Did he leave them there on purpose, or was he so stoned out of his mind that he just didn't know what he was doing or forgot what he did? I mean, that's a possibility. But I think that Hunter, who's very angry at his father, left the laptops there on purpose to be discovered. It's amazing to me that someone who's doing the things that Hunter does documents everything on the computer. And I think he does that so that he can have blackmail material against his dad. I think he's the kind of son who's, spoiled rich kid, never earned or worked for anything, and he's a product of his father. His father made him this way and keeps him as his money mule. And he has everything on the computer. If dad doesn't give him something that he wants, he just threatens to share some of this information that he has documented. It's really amazing. And, this story here alone is in many ways, it's bigger than the laptop, right? If he has an enemies list, Hunter Biden, and he's going to people in the government, go after to do this, to Bannon, to do that, to Giuliani, that is maybe something that's done often, but not openly and known about. And if this were anyone else other than Biden, like I say, even another Democrat, it would be breaking news with the breaking news sounders on television, and the nation would be at a standstill. And, the reporters, wherever Hunter is, I don't know where Hunter is, wherever he is, the reporters would be standing outside of wherever he lives, trying to get questions answered by him when he's walking to his car. But all they do is cover up some of the most terrible, evil things someone in government can do, right? Use the government as a tool of intimidation, as a weapon against your political enemies. And this is something that's been going on during the 2 years that Biden has been in the White House. And, it gets every week there's another story that's worse than the one before. And, sometimes you got to wonder, these people in media, do they see what they're doing? Do they understand who they are? Do they knowingly cover up? Or, a lot of times, people, and I'm not going to give the media off the hook because they know about these stories. People tell themselves things, okay? And what they tell themselves is, okay, these are terrible things the Bidens are doing, but we've got to stop Trump. We've got to stop DeSantis. We've got, it's more important. The greater good will be served with these guys in power. And that's how they process it. Now, I'll tell you, I've been wearing my Trump gear on the cruise. So people have been coming up to me during the whole cruise. And, it's a cruise. So most of the time they're, drinking a little drunk. So they're free flowing. And I got to tell you, on the last show, I was talking about Christina Bobb when I interviewed her last week. Christina Bobb's Trump's lawyer. She works at Mar-a-Lago. That I asked her, I said, is Ron DeSantis really not friends with Trump anymore? Or because I keep hearing all these stories that there's division. Is that fake news? She says no. They're having problems, and DeSantis is going to run against President Trump in the primary. And that's, to me, we did a whole show on that, and that's outrageous to me. This MAGA movement's bigger than that. I don't think he could. No, it's just not there. But on the cruise, there's a lot of MAGA people that I'm running into on this cruise that are not with our group, okay? Just regular people that are on the cruise. Well, regular people. We're regular people too. But what I mean is strangers, people that don't know me. All they know is I've got a Trump hat on or a Trump shirt, and they're MAGA. And almost all of them on the cruise have told me that they want DeSantis and not Trump. And, this is a big problem. And what Democrats do, this is what Democrats do. And the Republican establishment still working against Trump, their buddies, their partners in crime literally are the Democrats. And the Democrats and the Republican establishment, the Paul Ryan crowd, are using the oldest Democrat trick from that old worn-out Democrat playbook that Rush used to talk about. It's division. This is what Democrats do, because if they divide people, they can control us. When we're united, We say no to Obamacare. We vote for Trump. So they want to keep people divided. And what they're doing, and this is something that we've seriously got to deal with. What they're doing is, with success, is dividing the MAGA movement. Republicans, conservatives are not activists. They're really not. Well, we are now, but there's really not a history of activism. And I talk about this a lot. That liberals are activists and Republicans have jobs. If you're working and you got a family and you have responsibilities, you don't have time to be an activist. Well, that's changed. It's changed because of the access to the internet allows us to organize. So we have in the MAGA movement the most amazing political movement and activist movement in this country since the civil rights movement. It is, in fact, the MAGA movement in many ways is a civil rights group unofficially, and it's for the civil rights of Americans to have a voice in government and not be controlled by the deep state, not be controlled by the donors and that pay off all the members of the government. And Trump is the only person right now who has the ability to go up against them, not Ron DeSantis. And they've been very successful in dividing MAGA, which I did not think was possible. And, this is how they're doing it. And Christina Bobb told me this, and I've heard this from other people, but I didn't really believe it was true. I just couldn't believe it was true about Ron DeSantis. So Christina Bobb told he's being courted by these very rich, country club Republicans. And they're throwing a lot of money at him. They're telling him that he's peaked here in politics, that he's got to run now. See, and I'm not saying that he should do this because I don't want him to run against Trump. And I'm really upset about it because they put us in a position where we have to be critical of Ron DeSantis, and I don't want to be critical of Ron DeSantis, but they're making us do it here. So I know it's terrible, isn't it? See, Ron DeSantis, this is what they're telling him. Your time is now. You're peaking. If you wait until next time, you won't be governor anymore. See, in Florida, we have term limits, 2 terms for our governors. So in 2024, well, he'll still be governor, right? But in 2028, he won't be governor anymore, and he will have been out of office for 2 years. So, and he's a young guy, he's in his 40s. So they're telling him, you want to do it while you're governor. You don't want to do it when you're past governor. You got to do it now. And there's really not a lot of places for Ron DeSantis to go other than president or vice president, because we have 2 senators that are entrenched, Rick Scott in Florida, who was our governor before DeSantis, and of course, Little Marco. They're not going anywhere. So where do you go? When you're a governor like him, and where do you go? President or vice president? And I know typically, and he can't be vice president with Trump because they're both Florida residents. Typically, that's it. That's what you do. Or you sell out like, Paul Ryan. He doesn't want to do that because he's, but he's not rich, not like Trump. Trump has so much money and success. He doesn't have to care one little bit what the donors or the special interests want. He can't be bought. Can't be bought. Ron DeSantis is being courted with things that's, difficult for a mortal man to refuse, but he should be doing it. And what we really need, and if someone's listening that has the ear of Governor DeSantis, he's got to be talked to. These 2 guys, DeSantis and Trump, got to end this MAGA division that's going on because it's spreading. It's getting worse. It really is. And the biggest problem we have right now as far as a movement is DeSantis and Trump, and so many people wanting DeSantis to run and Trump to step aside. I don't understand it. People don't that tell me this. They're really MAGA, they're really Republicans, but I guess they've been brainwashed by Fox News. I don't know. I can't blame Fox News for everything. And some of these people are Florida residents I've been talking to, because the cruise ship sails out of Florida, but some of them are from other parts of the country. So that's it for this segment. Okay, listen, my name's Brian. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Podcast listeners, there's a podcast you will want to add to your playlist. The Gist. Hosted by writer and pop culture connoisseur Chris Vetrano, The Gist is an unfiltered pop culture podcast that breaks down all things pop culture, covers entertainment, and a lot more. The Gist features takes on the hottest headlines in entertainment, interviews with special guests, and takes deep dives into nostalgic pop culture moments. To the latest feuds on The Real Housewives, to who wore it best on the red carpet. The Gist is your one-stop shop for all pop culture news. New episodes drop every Thursday on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Add The Gist with host Chris Vetrano to your podcast playlist right now. If you're a collector of crystals and love bringing positive energy into your life, you'll love Shop the Crystal Altar. That's all one word on Etsy.com. Crystal enthusiasts will find plenty to choose from with their wide variety of crystal carvings, slices, and jewelry. Connect with the perfect crystal for you, and all the product listings are individual and unique, making it easy to find the perfect addition to your crystal collection. All the crystals are high quality and carefully handled. Whether you're using crystals to enhance your meditation practice, spiritual work, or just admiring their beauty, you'll find your new favorite crystal from Shop the Crystal Altar on Etsy. Healing crystals, jewelry, and more. Shop the Crystal Altar. It's all one word on Etsy.com. Start shopping right now. If you like to live your life outdoors, running or cycling, you need the right attire to fit your active life. And that's what you will find at the Etsy shop, outdoorendurance.etsy.com. Outdoorendurance.etsy.com carries shirts designed for runners, trail runners, marathon runners, ultra runners, cyclists, gravel bikers, mountain bikers, and all things outdoor endurance sports. The designs at outdoorendurance.etsy.com are perfect for trail runners and gravel bikers, with themes and phrases that express your love and passion for the outdoor life. Everything's affordable too, and of the highest quality. If you know someone that would rather run than walk, or ride a bike than drive a car, you will find them the perfect gift at outdoorendurance.etsy.com. Make sure to share the shop on all of your social media. Outdoorendurance.etsy.com. That's outdoorendurance.etsy.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back. I'm Brian, not with my wife and co-host Kathy today, and I am broadcasting from my cabin out in the middle of the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, on the Celebrity Apex, and I shut my balcony window so I don't have the sounds of the ocean behind me right now, but I'm looking out at the ocean and it's beautiful. We're having a great time. Wish you were here. Oh man, we've been having a great time. We really have. Oh man. So I didn't go through this story in the first segment, so I want to do it now. What Hunter is doing. This intimidation and threatening of people that are telling the truth about him. Listen to this. Lawyers for Joe Biden's son Hunter have asked the Justice Department. See, this is the thing, because, what kind of lawyer is an attorney for Hunter Biden, would you think? I mean, probably, like some really low-life scumbag kind of attorney. I mean, who else would be representing Hunter Biden? So these guys have no moral code at all, and no sense of right and wrong. But anyway, lawyers for Joe Biden's son Hunter have asked the Justice Department to investigate close allies of President Donald Trump and others who they say accused and shared personal data from a laptop that he dropped off at a Delaware computer repair shop in 2019. In a separate letter, Hunter's attorneys have also asked Tucker Carlson to retract and apologize for what they say are false and defamatory claims made about him on the air, including implying that he had unauthorized access to classified documents found at his father's home. Now, this is, the stuff in the garage and in the house. Of course he did. He's at the house. It's his house. You have access to everything that, is there. I'm away. There's someone staying at my house right now, right? Watching the dog while I'm gone. Well, they have access to everything in my house. Now, I don't have classified documents in the garage, like Joe Biden does, but they can go in my garage and go through anything that they want. I'm not there. If you're in a house and you're alone, you have access to anything that is there. Unless it's locked up in a safe, you do not have the combination. And it didn't look like a safe in the garage with the boxes we saw with the documents all over the place. So of course he had access. And to me, you got a guy who's high on, I don't even want to know, with his buddies over there that are all high. You're telling me that when Hunter and his friends get high, it wouldn't be the kind of thing that people would do is go get the classified. Of course, that's probably when the classified documents would be the most interesting reading, when these guys are high. The request for a criminal inquiry, which comes as Hunter faces tax evasion investigations by the Justice Department, has no practical impact and does not commit federal prosecutors to take any action, but it represents a shift in strategy and a rare public response by Hunter and his legal team to years of attacks by Republican officials. This is the article I'm reading from, and conservative media. It also represents, and it goes on to some other things. The lawyer is they say, a very prominent Washington attorney. He seeks an investigation into Steve Bannon, Mayor Giuliani, the John Paul Mac Isaac. He's the guy that owns the computer shop. The letter cites passages from Mac Isaac's book in which he admitted reviewing private and sensitive material from Biden's laptop, including a file titled Income PDF. It notes that Mac Isaac sent a copy of the laptop data to Giuliani's lawyer, who in turn shared it with Giuliani, Trump's close ally, who at the time was pushing discredited theories about Hunter. I love how these reporters just tell you, these are discredited theories. First of all, when you're a news person, it's not up for you as the news person to do a press release from the PR firm of Hunter Biden. It's not for you to say discredited. When were any of the claims and scandals against Hunter discredited? The only thing being discredited here is the media. An article at CBS News includes links to the letters the Hunter team sent out. In a flurry of letters to the Delaware Attorney General, the Department of Justice, the IRS, and attorneys for Fox News and attorneys for Tucker Carlson, we're seeing an aggressive new strategy for the president's son, who's facing long-running federal criminal investigations, as well as new probes promised by congressional Republicans. Now, this is when it's going to get real, right? Well, Kevin McCarthy, who I think is doing a fantastic job as Speaker. I was so wrong about him. He has really turned out to be a good guy. Now, the question is he doing these good things, Kevin McCarthy, because he wants to, or, he doesn't see a way not to do what MAGA, what President Trump want? I don't know. I really don't know, because I was very much against him, but he's doing everything Trump wants him to do, and that's pretty amazing. So there is an expectation from the MAGA movement that our new MAGA House of Representatives will not just have hearings, but have very detailed hearings on a whole bunch of things, including the revelations from the Hunter Biden laptop. And, you really got to ask yourself, when these hearings happen, Hunter's going to be questioned. All kinds of people are going to be questioned. The computer repair shop guy, who knows who else is going to be questioned. And some of those videos had remember there were videos where you could see and prostitutes were identified in these videos. Some of these prostitutes could very well be called into a House hearing, and they'll be asked real questions. When the Hunter Biden laptop hearings begin, there's going to be other hearings too on other things, but when the Hunter Biden laptop hearings begin, do you think that the media will cover it with the same level of coverage that they did like the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings? Or, I mean, think about this. Those of you that remember when Clarence Thomas was nominated and he had his hearings, it was a joke that we don't even know if he made about a hair on a Coke can. You know, and the country stopped. You would have thought that he was a rapist because of this joke, which he may or may not have made. I don't know. Does it matter at this point? But they made movies about Anita Hill. You know, Anita Hill's a multimillionaire. Isn't that amazing? You know, and she would testify, and they would follow her in the court, and the cameras would surround her, and everyone was hanging on her every. You know, the Clarence Thomas hearing. It was almost like the OJ trial. It was that big in the country. It was that big. It was if you weren't there following the news at the time, I don't think people realize what a big deal they made out of Anita Hill. That is nothing compared to what's on this laptop. And the witnesses that they're going to call forward are eccentric, very weird and unusual compared to what you would normally see in a congressional hearing. You know? And I think the media will cover it as little as they can get away with covering it, and they're going to villainize the witnesses. They're going to villainize the witness. You know, that's what you do, right? You discredit the messenger. You know, and I'm expecting this to happen. And I'll tell you another thing too. When Hunter testifies, that should be almost considered to be a national holiday. Who's going to be working on the day that Hunter testifies and the computer repair shop guy testifies? And if they get one of these Russian prostitutes and they come in, oh my goodness. You know, they make all these claims about Trump with Stormy Daniels, which I do not believe he did anything with Stormy Daniels. Give me a break. But he took a photograph, right? Took a photograph. And, oh, look, they're in a photo. Do you know how many photographs I've taken with people on this cruise? What does that mean? I take a photograph with someone? That means that I've had sex with them? I mean, this is ridiculous. Hunter's laptop, you actually see him having sex with a prostitute. You know? But, oh, no. No. If that was Don Jr., that's all we would be hearing about, all right? But no, this weaponization that Hunter's lawyers feel so comfortable doing is at a level we've never seen before. Yeah, what's frightening about it to me is how they do these things in the open. You know, back in the days of J. Edgar Hoover, all this stuff was going on too, but they didn't tell the public. There were rumors, there were theories, but they didn't do it out in the open. These people are robbing banks with no masks on in the open and waving to the security cameras. They feel that they have just a license to do whatever. You know, I'll tell you what it's a lot like. Yeah, and this may seem extreme, the way the Bidens are running this country right now. It's a lot like Saddam Hussein and his sons. Well, I can't remember his son's name. The one they remember they died in the gun battle with the, you know. Remember one of the Uday was one. It's been a long time. But Saddam Hussein's sons went through Iraq. I'm not going to get into all of their things because it's terrible stuff. But they went through Iraq doing terrible things. Some of them almost equal to what Hunter's doing. No. They did things worse than even Hunter did, okay? Because he was a complete dictator, you know. And they didn't have, there's no law. But the way that Hunter and Joe operate is if there is no laws, that no one can touch them, and they can do whatever it is they want. They run things like they're in a dictatorship. Okay? And that's it. I mean, that's it. these hearings in the House with the MAGA Republicans, Jim Jordan, they've got to happen. And if they don't carry them on television, that's okay. But I thought, when the internet was new and grew and all of this, that some of this stuff would stop. It's just, I guess they've gotten away with things so much, they don't even bother, right, to cover things up. They just feel they can get away with it, so they do it. All right, now listen, I'm going to take a break, and there's a lot more to talk about. I've just scratched the surface. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
Parents, grandparents, and teachers, there's a new children's book you will enjoy with your little ones. Buckley is a Busy Boy, from author Susan Hines. This fun children's book is filled with colorful illustrations and easy-to-follow rhyming text that will teach children how to connect with other children, help them learn, and discover how to play with other kids. Your kids will want to read Buckley is a Busy Boy over and over again. Join in on the adventures of Buckley as he learns healthy routines, explores the outdoors, and learns the meaning of family. Order your copy of Buckley is a Busy Boy from author Susan Hines. Online at tjppublications.com. That's tjppublications.com for Buckley is a Busy Boy from author Susan Hines. If you're looking for a beautiful way to enhance your home decor, look to Textiles by J. Purr Blockhouse. At J. Purr Blockhouse, you will find handmade textiles that are truly stunning. They offer soft quilts, cushions, and shams. Experience the ultimate luxury and comfort with these fabulous bedding collections. They use only organic cotton that's very soft with chemical-free dyes that's perfect for the living room, bedroom, your kids' room, or your guest room. You can transform the look of your bed with these hand-embroidered quilts, cushions, and shams. Find these gorgeous bedding items on Etsy at J. Purr Blockhouse. That's JAIPURBLOC House. On Instagram at J. Purr Blockhouse or visit their website, jpurrblockhouse.com. Are you looking for a unique and profitable business opportunity? Have you thought about an ignition interlock device business? To give offenders a second chance, courts are often willing to allow convicted DUI drivers to install interlock devices so they can continue to drive their vehicles. These devices work by having the driver perform a breathalyzer test in order to start their car. More and more judges are offering these devices, and you can learn everything you need to know in the book, How to Start an Interlock Business, available online at theinterlockbook.com. This downloadable ebook has tons of useful information that you won't find anywhere else. In this must-read book, you'll learn how to find ignition interlock partners, how to pick the right business model, understand the different types of services, learn to analyze potential service center locations, discover how to streamline business operations, how to apply for the right business license, how to stay in compliance, and much, much more. What are you waiting for? Don't blow and drive. Read and buy the book, How to Start an Interlock Business, online at theinterlockbook.com. That's theinterlockbook.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, broadcasting live from my cabin north of Puerto Rico, out in the ocean. Looking out at it right now, beautiful ocean, on the Celebrity Apex. This is exciting. Oh, man. So I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. And thank you so much. Those of you that are Patreon supporters, your support of the program helps a lot. It really does. And there's benefits, there's perks to becoming a Patreon supporter. And one of those is if you're a top Patreon supporter, you get a live on-air thank you shout out on each and every podcast episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Rome, Wisconsin, Macho, Mike P, Paulette, Carlos, Dave, and Maria. Thank you so much. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the episode description. And there's also a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. So I got a text message from Newsmax. Any of you on the text message list from Newsmax? I don't do that very often, but Newsmax I do. And I'm getting a lot of text from them because because I'm on the cruise, I don't have my phone on all the time. So I turned it on and I've just got a ton of text messages at once. And a lot of them are about Newsmax and the DirecTV ban by AT&T. Like the latest one that I just got, and you might have gotten this a few days ago, I don't know. But Dennis Prager, founder of PragerU, says he sees greatest threat and urges you to cancel DirecTV. Then there's another text. This one was yesterday. Breaking news, Ted Cruz and senators demand DirecTV answer for deplatforming Newsmax. Here's another. These are all texts from Newsmax. 20 congressmen will take the House floor over AT&T censorship, and there was a hearing. Here's another story that came in earlier in the week. DeSantis demands congressional probe into AT&T deplatforming of Newsmax. Speaker Kevin McCarthy very concerned about AT&T DirecTV censorship, wants decision reversed. Sarah Palin talks with Eric Bolling about the deplatforming. It goes on. Listen, I know a lot of people went to Newsmax and I don't know, went back to Fox. I guess it was when everyone went to Newsmax, it was amazing. It was amazing, and Newsmax isn't perfect. Nothing is. No one is. Except this program is. We're perfect. We're perfect. There is no doubt in anyone's mind that the reason that AT&T canceled Newsmax on DirecTV is because they carry the Trump rallies. Now there's kind of a fringe conservative channel they put in its place. Bill O'Reilly's on it, and some good people that are good conservatives, but it's not a mainstream thing, okay? Like Newsmax, where it's going to be big and there's no journal. They put a conservative program on, or a conservative channel on in that spot that no one's really going to watch, so they can say no, it's not about bias. We put another conservative on. Newsmax, number 4 in the ratings, was about to become number 3, and they're in a panic because after the summertime, the campaign's going to start to become very active, and before we know it, we're going to have multiple rallies a day every Saturday and Sunday. The campaign's going to start, and the other networks will not air them. Newsmax does, and that is why DirecTV canceled them. So my first thought when Newsmax got canceled is, well, it's a terrible thing, and I still believe that. But maybe they're benefiting from it now. Maybe they're benefiting from it. I mean, they can't, I'm sure they'd rather stay on it. They're gone already from DirecTV. But they're getting so much publicity. And what's happened, the left overplay their hand all the time and every time. That's all they know how to do. And what they've done with Newsmax is they've made them victims. They're creating a martyr with Newsmax. And a lot of people probably didn't know about Newsmax, and they will now. Or maybe they haven't watched it before. Maybe they haven't watched it in a long time because they don't like Bob Sellers. I don't like Bob Sellers over there either, but it's not going to stop me from watching. And maybe Newsmax will become more influential. It's going to be very difficult for President Trump to run a campaign when his campaign is not covered on television. And when they have these hearings, this is what I think is going to play out. When they have the serious, hardcore hearings getting to what happened here, if the executives from AT&T really feel they're in trouble, I think they'll say, well, Newsmax brings on insurrectionists like President Trump. This is, the Capitol breach is something that as a MAGA movement, we're going to have to answer for every day for the rest of our lives when you're dealing with the establishment or liberals. They're going to hide behind January 6th, blame us for that for the rest of their lives. Now, The Democrats had an insurrection. It's called the American Civil War, and what it really was the Democrat insurrection against the federal government, right? So are we supposed to hold them accountable for what, I think we should. That was a real insurrection. This was not, but that's what they're going to use. They're going to use January 6th forever. It's just something you've got to get used to, and you have to be prepared to answer. I had a guy I ran into a Democrat yesterday when I got off the cruise ship and was heading in for our tour, and I was wearing my MAGA hat, and he says, "Oh, too bad he's going to jail." He's talking about Trump, and we had a bit of a debate, and he's an insurrectionist. He told. Liberals create their own reality, okay? They create their own reality. They tell themselves lies. They believe their lies, and they lie to their supporters, and they believe what they want to believe. And this is something that they're just going to stick with. And that's why Newsmax is gone. Newsmax is gone because they carry Trump. And they're about to beat one of the big three in cable news, probably MSNBC, because they're not only number three, they're number three by far. So Newsmax was probably catching up to them, and they're like, we got to stop this. We can't let if Newsmax became number three, which I think they were about to do, and I hope that Newsmax and some of the others, when they get into these congressional hearings, they're going to go through the ratings. I bet you that Newsmax beats in the ratings some of these mainstream media cable outlets in huge areas of the country. Maybe not overall because they're not in enough homes, but I bet you there are many areas of the country, many markets where they're like number 2 or 3 already. They're number 4 nationwide. And they carry the Trump rallies. And, I like their coverage of the Trump rallies because they don't do it all the time. But sometimes they'll send a whole team there, kind of like Right Side Broadcasting. And I know a lot of people don't seem to care because they say, well, I'll just watch the rallies on Right Side if I can't get it on Newsmax. Well, I'll watch it on Right Side too. But not everyone will do that. Not everyone knows what Right Side Broadcasting is. We need, Trump's success isn't that he preaches to the choir. How many MAGA people voted Republican for the first time with Donald Trump? How many people voted for the first time ever because of Donald Trump? Donald Trump's success is because he was reaching to people who are not politically active, typically, don't follow the news, don't follow the issues, but they found something with Donald Trump that they connected to. And that's it. He brought in people that know nothing. They know as much about it. Before Trump, they followed the news maybe never. And now they're involved. So if he's just on Right Side Broadcasting and conservative outlets that only conservatives have access to, we're already supporting him. Trump's message needs to be heard by other people. So many people I was talking about are coming up to me on the cruise that are not in our group and talking to me about Trump and asking me questions about Trump. And these people believe crazy things. They believe crazy things. I'll talk more about it after the trip, because I want to upload this podcast while I'm still on the ship, and some of them might tune in. And I want to wait till I'm off the ship, okay, before no, I'm not going to name any names. But I'll get into some more detail after the cruise on what some of them said. But the things they say about Trump not only are not true, they're talking points from the mainstream media. And they don't have Trump on there. They don't have his top allies on there. They don't have his rallies on there. One of the reasons we didn't do as well as we hoped in the midterms is because these Trump rallies were not on television. These Trump rallies, when he was going around in the midterms endorsing people for different things, if those were on TV, as they should be because they're huge events for the news, we would have won more seats in the House. I don't know about the Senate, but we would have won more seats in the House, and I'm telling you. Oh, yeah, one last thing I wanted to mention. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I was reading an article the other day about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is becoming more mainstream Republican, okay? And a lot of people and are going to criticize her for that. This is what we know about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's President Trump's personal representative in Congress. I don't mean in his district, because no, she's not in his district. But she represents him there. Look at how she was working with these two factions during the speaker debate. And the reason she's becoming mainstream is pretty smart. And she's still MAGA. She hasn't given up MAGA. But what she's doing is getting into she wants to be in leadership in the Republican Party, okay? And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she wants MAGA, and I'm sure she's in consultations with President Trump. He calls her on her cell phone. She's making a move for MAGA to take over where these establishment Trump-hating Republicans are now. And to do that, she has to sound a little more mainstream than you might be used to with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And, when a lot of people, we were upset with her when she was supporting Kevin McCarthy. I know a lot of you were. We talked about it a lot. And then we found out she was doing what Trump wanted her to do. So if she sounds a little establishment, I wouldn't let that bother you. It's not going to bother me, because I think she's playing a long game with Trump. Trump has done very good purging the Republican establishment from power. They're really not in power of the party, certainly not in the House that we just won, which is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is a key person for the MAGA takeover and pushing the Republican establishment out. So when she comes out and does something we don't like or says something crazy, let's just wait and see. Because I thought for sure we lost her in the speaker battle, and then when Donald Trump called her and she held up the phone and gave it to Matt Gaetz, I was like, okay. And then look what happened. Kevin McCarthy is doing everything MAGA wants him to do. So it seems like they got a pretty good idea of what they're doing. All right, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian. Back after this.
Discover a breathtakingly beautiful and profoundly moving coming-of-age story in the book Dancing in the River from author George Lee, available on Amazon. Growing up in a small riverside town, Little Bright is thrusted into the political whirlwinds along with his family during China's Cultural Revolution. When a reversal of the winds of reform blows through the land, however, he learns the once forbidden tongue, English, which lends wings to his sense and sensibility. At college, he adopts a new English name, Victor. With a deepening of his knowledge of the English language, he begins to place himself under the tutelage of Pavlov, Sherlock Holmes, and Shakespeare. Join Victor on his uncharted journey to unlock his dilemma and unearth his destiny as his un-Chinese passion and tension threaten to topple his moral world and mental universe. Dancing in the River is a captivating, literature-focused coming-of-age page-turner and a story you'll never forget. From author George Lee, Dancing in the River. Order your copy on Amazon right now. Attention business owners and senior management. Are you struggling to achieve your company or organization's goals? It's time to ignite some initiative with the book Igniting Initiative, How Strategic Thinking Can Inspire Your Team and Lead Your Organization to Long-Term Success. From authors Chris Barton and John Phillips. Available on Amazon. After reading Igniting Initiative, you will become a key component to the long-term success of your company and stand out as an innovative leader. Inside, you'll discover recommendations on how to select a process that works and improves the company. Learn how to honestly assess the problems and issues within an area, as well as find the steps needed to stay on top of your entire scope of responsibilities. Learn how to create a strategic plan with timetables and due dates. Find ideas to inspire and recognize your team's hard work, and much, much more. What are you waiting for? Become the leader your company or organization need to achieve their goals. And order your copy of Igniting Initiative, How Strategic Thinking Can Inspire Your your team and lead your organization to long-term success. From authors Chris Barton and John Phillips. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, broadcasting from the cabin of the cruise ship, looking out at the Atlantic Ocean as we're steaming back to Florida. Today's a sea day, tomorrow's a sea day, and then Saturday we wake up and we're back in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm usually, when we take our cruise and we get home, I'm usually one of the very first people off the ship. And when there's cruises, the last night's the big party. I really don't go to bed the last night. I'll pack probably pretty much before dinner. Which, when you see my vlog on this trip, I overpack a lot. I've got a massive suitcase, and I brought all of my equipment that I'm able to podcast on in case something happened and I had to connect to the radio station. So my cabin, you'll see this in my video about the cruise, kind of looks like almost like a radio station. Got a microphone. I don't know what the room steward is thinking when he sees all this stuff. I guess so many people are into vlogging and everything, they're probably kind of used to it, but I've got microphones here and everything else going on, so it's, and when I put up my vlog for the cruise, make sure you watch it. It's going to be very good. We just had a great time, just an amazing time. All right, so I got a couple stories here I just want to finish the show off with that are just insane. Okay, now every day there's some new happening with trans people and drag shows and kids. And there's two stories. One is out of Florida. Listen to this. A Florida Pride Festival featured a drag queen with a question and answer session in the teen zone and a story hour in the kids zone. This is in Breitbart. The teens portion consisted of a question and answer with a drag performer who goes by the name Misty Eyes. The drag performer also took part in a drag queen story hour event in the kids zone. I mean, that's the thing. Drag queens, conservatives are not against drag queens, but that's adult entertainment. Okay, it's adult entertainment. It's not children. I mean, if you were bringing in Hooter girls, right? If Hooters girls were having story hour in their Hooters outfits at the school, what would people be like? That's outrageous. Or strippers, right? If you brought in strippers from local strip club and they just did a story hour, what would people think? Some things are adult entertainment and some things aren't. But the drag queen story hour, that's adult entertainment. That's just not appropriate. The festival, which was hosted by Hollywood, Florida, and Broward County, Florida. Broward County is where Fort Lauderdale is. All right, and whoops, I dropped my recording device, but I just caught it before it hit the floor. So if you heard a little bit there, okay, we're good. I didn't drop it. And Hollywood is a city that's borders Fort Lauderdale, just south of it, okay? It also included a banned book nook in the kids zone. The banned book area featured various controversial books and was hosted by Broward County's Hollywood Library and Safe Schools South Florida, a group working to embed gender theory in schools. Don't you love these names of these liberal groups? Safe Schools South Florida. Right out of Goebbels' playbook here, right? If the liberals are saying it's safe, it's the opposite, right? Anything they say, it's the opposite. Safe Schools South Florida. Safe for who? Drag queens that want to read books in their drag clothes to children? The organization explains that it hopes to mobilize students in service of leftist causes through gay-straight alliance leadership, training, and diversity conferences. The group also works on policy advocacy initiatives with schools, school districts, and government agencies. It's called Welcome Home, My Hollywood Pride, right? The Hollywood, Florida. The event also features screenings of Legacy Couples Project, a documentary about 14 gay couples, and another film about safe spaces for homosexual men of color. The festival was sponsored by Starbucks. Sorry, guys. I mean, I wish somebody else would come along and have like a conservative Starbucks. I can't. I need the Starbucks coffee to be awake enough to do the show in the morning. The festival was sponsored by Starbucks, Holy Cross Hospital, and the Florida Cleveland Clinic. The Florida Cleveland Clinic provides patients with information about gender affirmation surgery. I mean, how did all this become a thing? There's been sex change operations forever, right? You would hear about these stories. But now, what's happened, this gender affirmation surgery, which I'm assuming is that the new term for sex change operation. They don't call it a sex change operation because they're not changing your sex. You were just born the wrong sex. You were born with the parts of the wrong sex, so they're just fixing you. It's a bizarre thing. But what's happened is the sex change operations, it's kind of like when cosmetic surgery centers are all over the place now. It never used to be like that. People, there's been cosmetic surgery. People used to get facelifts and things like back in the 50s, nose jobs and things like this, but they were done in hospitals. And then as technology advanced and things advanced, all of a sudden people started getting cosmetic surgery at the doctor's office and surgical centers, which, now you have, at least in Florida where I live, we've got cosmetic surgery centers every 10 feet, And now this gender affirmation surgery is becoming like that. It's just kind of like a common thing, like women like to go and get breast implants, or, a guy, wants to get a little tuck, get a little facelift. Now it's becoming that casual, but the problem is, in the old days, before they did sex change operations, people had to go through therapy, and it was a process that took at least a year. And I'm not going back that far. I'm talking about like in the 70s and in the 80s, because I remember, when I was a kid in the 70s and the 80s, they would have women who had sex change operations. They were born men and then became women, and they would go on television to do interviews, like on Jerry Springer or back in the days of Geraldo, and they would talk about the process. And I remember one of them said, for example, I remember this because I thought this was interesting. Before she could have the surgery, she went through this year-long process, and part of that process is that the doctors, before they would sign off on sex change operations, a man would have to naturally, I mean, like in, I don't know if it's not natural, but he'd have to go to the bathroom sitting down instead of standing up, right? Have to pee sitting down for a year. But there were other things too, but that just shows. I mean, they just didn't do it lightly. Now, you can go to these hospitals. You can go to these places and say, I want to have a sex change operation, and they'll schedule it for the next day. Put on your credit card. They'll take cash too, probably. And something like that is not the kind of thing that you want to do casually. When they had a long process for it, there was a lot of reasons for it. But one of them is you're doing something that is not reversible. And what's going to happen at some point, you see a little bit of it now, but at some point in the future, and I don't think it's all that far away, these people that are having sex change operations, there's going to be this movement of people that have regret for the sex change operations, and they can't reverse it. It's something that's being done too casually, and it's almost like the medical profession has just said, "Oh, we got this great new area of income, this great new business model," and the Democrats like it. Because back to what I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of division with that. A lot of division, because when you talk against it, they go, you're a homophobe, a genderphobe, a transphobe, and it's a way to marginalize conservatives, marginalize Christians. Oh, you're a transphobe, If people want to get a sex change operation, get it. But you don't do it on kids. You don't do it on young people. And you don't do it just because somebody casually thinks that, like I have no tattoos. A lot of people have tattoos. I'm not against tattoos, but I've never gotten a tattoo. I've gotten close. A couple times I was going to get a tattoo. And to me, that's too permanent of a thing. That's not really reversible. I know there's some things they can do now to make it almost go away or something like this. But getting a tattoo, even one that's not shown, that would be under my clothes, it's too permanent of a decision for me, right? So I've never done it. And I probably never will. I don't have a desire to get a tattoo, but some things you do to your body are such a permanent decision to make, it should not be taken lightly. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And when I'm back, Kathy will rejoin me. Doing the podcast together is a little problematic when I'm out on the ocean, But man, this is, if anyone's listening that's on the cruise, this is just an amazing time I've had. This is a great week. All our cruises are fun. But each one gets a little more fun because our group grows and everybody becomes friends and exchanges phone numbers and hangs out, and it's just a great, great time. And our shore excursion yesterday, oh my goodness, I cannot wait for you guys to see. Our shore excursion yesterday was our third stop, St. Kitts. And we took this amazing tour. We took a train. We had a private train car, double-decker train car, around the island on a tour of the island, which was very interesting. But it took us far away from the port. And then we took a catamaran, which is a sailboat, a big sailboat. And we sailed it back to the ship. And it was amazing. I mean, this sailboat we were on, hundreds of thousands of dollars this thing cost. And I've never been on a sailboat like this before. I see them a lot of time in Florida, but I've never been on one. And we just had a great time with our group. You'll see, and I've put some pictures up on Instagram and some pictures up on YouTube. But when you see the video, you'll see you guys should really join us. The only regret I have is it's a week is too short. We're almost back, right? So today's Thursday, so we have all day, the rest of today and tonight, and then we have Friday all day, all night, and then we're home. And it goes by so quick because you're having so much fun. It's absolutely amazing. And we've got TVs in the room. I haven't turned my TV on this whole cruise. This is actually the first cruise where I haven't had my television on because we're having such a great time. Who wants to watch TV? And some of the people are on the cruise that like PJ, he calls in. He's on the cruise. Most of the people that are on the cruise are people that you don't know as a caller, and it's like a family we have. So hopefully you guys will join us on the next one. Okay, I'm Brian. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And make sure, if you don't already, you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see my vlog when I upload it of the cruise, which I can't. I've been editing the vlog as the cruise goes, and we just had a great time. All right, guys. My name's Brian Craig. I'll talk to you next time.
Podcast listeners, there's a podcast you will want to add to your playlist. The Gist. Hosted by writer and pop culture connoisseur Chris Vetrano, The Gist is an unfiltered pop culture podcast that breaks down all things pop culture, covers entertainment, and a lot more. The Gist features takes on the hottest headlines in entertainment, interviews with special guests, and takes deep dives into nostalgic pop culture moments. To the latest feuds on The Real Housewives, to who wore it best on the red carpet, The Gist is your one-stop shop for all pop culture news. New episodes drop every Thursday on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Add The Gist with host Chris Vetrano to your podcast playlist right now.